Psychologists have actually identified part of our sin nature that fights against humility. What they call it is illusory superiority. And it's a trait we all have, that we think our good traits are better than they really are, and others' bad traits are worse than they really are. So for example, they surveyed college professors and said, how many of you rate yourself in the top 25%? And the number of people who said I am was 68%. They asked NBA students, how many of you are above average? And the number who raised their hand was 87%. That's even why 90% of restaurants fail in the first year. It's illusory superiority. They overestimate how good they are and underestimate how good everyone else is. And I think the reason Joseph remained humble is he knew there was a mission that he hadn't fulfilled yet. He knew there was dreams that God had put in him, and he said, God put me here for this purpose, and I will not settle until that thing comes to pass. And I want to talk specifically to those of you who are Joseph's age. Remember, Joseph was somewhere under 30 years old. So those of you in your 20s, maybe even middle and high school, you will have to fight illusory superiority, making you arrogant in time. Because when you are young, like Joseph, people often overlook you. And you have to use that, young people, as an opportunity to grow in your humility. So when there's a big planning meeting at work and you're the new person and you know you could contribute because even though you're new, you've seen things that they don't even notice anymore, but they don't even let you have a voice. You got to choose humility. When you want to accomplish something great and you believe God's created you to have good influence, but it's just not there yet, and you're wondering, do I create a shortcut? What do I do? How do I get to the place where I can actually have the voice that I believe God wants me to have? Choose humility. When you know you're right and your mom's wrong, choose humility and fight your sin nature. So how do we do that practically? What can we do to have the humility that makes sure the blessing of God doesn't distract us from the will of God? I think Deuteronomy 8 that we read earlier shows us. Look back at a handful of these scriptures. Verse 11 says, in your plenty, don't forget the Lord your God. Verse 14, don't become proud and forget the Lord. Verse 15, don't forget that he led you through the wilderness. Verse 18, remember the Lord your God. God says, before I bless you, I have to warn you that this blessing doesn't distract you. And the way God says that it won't distract you is this: remember. Remember what God did. Remember who blessed you. Remember how God was faithful to you in the past. And this is a huge theme through all the scriptures.